President Buhari inaugurates more train coaches and first inland dry port in Kaduna.
Make this facility work this time.
Rescue another Chibok girl in Abuja, Benue State.
National Assembly moves to end fuel scarcity in the country, holds investigative hearing.
On Good Morning Nigeria today, we will focus on killings across the country, plus contribution of Multinational Joint Task Force to war against insurgency.
It was indeed a sad moment when the people of Rivers State woke up on the bright New Year Day to the sad story of killings of 16 persons in Omoko community in Ogba, Egbema and Oni local government area of the state by unknown gunmen while returning from a crossover service to Osha in year 2018.
Indeed, Blessing, Omoko is not the only community where, you know, this occurrence or the sad taste of the New Year celebration actually happened. In fact, 6 communities in Guma and local government areas of Benue State are even worst hit. And we're looking at, and there's said to be activities of gunmen in which about 50 persons, 50 persons were killed and several others were actually injured. Indeed, it's a sad taste.
Very sad. Well, apart from this ones, you have also reeled out, Ruda, Kaduna State encountered such security challenge during the period in question, with the gruesome murder of second-class Chief Etom Mauna Gambo Makama of Gwantu village in Sanga local government area. He was murdered with his wife.
And just yesterday, just yesterday here, another one, a masked gunman attacked and killed undisclosed number of people in Egbema in Emeha local government area of Rivers State again. And this latest killing came barely just 3 days after the Omoko attack.
Rather, these wanton killings in Rivers, Kaduna and Benue, as well as other parts of the nation, raised concern over the security situation in the country, despite assurances by the security agencies and deployments made for a peaceful Yuletide.
Worried by this ugly development, President Muhammadu Buhari gave marching orders to security agencies to arrest the masterminds of this, killings, maimings, wanton destruction of properties in the affected states and avert further attacks.
While describing the attacks as wicked and callous, the president said, and I quote, "This is one attack too many, and everything must be done to provide security for the people in our rural communities," end of quote.
But the question, Blessing, is why are these killings happening at such a time as the dawn of a new year, when people are, about celebrating? And what could be responsible, for them? Are the security personnel deployed to these areas to provide security during this, Yuletide period? Were they inadequate or incapacitated? And how do we avert, such future occurrences? These are some of the fronts we hope that this morning our guest will be able to at least engage them and get answers to some of these wanton killings across the country.
Exactly, Rhoda, because these are pertinent questions to actually ask, despite the movement of security personnel from here to other parts of the country. Once we hear such things during the Yuletide, or even especially for communities that have been affected in the past, at least they should have stepped up whatever it is that is temple of security architecture. Well, the nation in recent times have witnessed some of this, as we have already recounted, and perhaps we even don't know some of them could be more in number than we have actually reeled out this morning. Welcome to the program. My name is Blessing Abu. And I'm saying it's good to have you on the program. It's the last one for the week.
And I'm Rhoda Anonim. Thank you for joining us on Good Morning Nigeria. Today we are live on Africa's largest television network, the NTA. As always, we have a regular segment just to also let you know that we will also be engaging another guest, and that's on the Multinational Joint Task Force, the role it is playing in the fight against the Boko Haram insurgency in the Northeast. We also hope to join our guest later, another guest on that subject. But then, as always, we have a regular companion segment, and that's a newspaper review. We've got business, we've got sports and entertainment. Not to also forget that we've got some updates in the foreign scene. But then, as always, the news comes first, and Joseph Johnson is our guy. Joseph, good morning. Good to see you.
Good morning, Rhoda, and thanks for joining us here. President Muhammadu Buhari has restated the unshakable resolve of his administration towards ensuring that all major commercial and production centers, as well as state capitals in Nigeria, are linked with railway systems as part of the 25-year strategic master plan. This, he said, is not a statement of intent, but rather a benchmark for measuring the performance of the governing APC. The president was speaking at the launch of 2 new standard gauge locomotives and 10 executive passenger coaches for the Kaduna-Abuja commercial train service at Rigasa Station.
Nigerians, that we are strongly committed to linking all major commercial and production centers as well as state capitals with railway systems as a way of bringing about rapid social economic development and improving the quality of life of the citizens and promoting national integration.
The hinterland business community in Nigeria now has the opportunity of accessing shipping and port services without necessarily visiting the seaports. This followed the inauguration of the Kaduna Inland Dry Port, one of the 7 earmarked for execution as part of Nigeria's economic diversification policy. President Muhammadu Buhari, who performed the ceremony at the Kakuri area of Kaduna metropolis, warned against unnecessary bureaucratic bottlenecks capable of jeopardizing the container revolution.
To make these facilities work and not to frustrate business, commercial and industrial enterprises with unnecessary bureaucracy and inflicting on them delays and hardships, thereby defeating the object of the whole exercise as has happened in the past. Make these facilities work this time.
Identifying the root causes and preferring solutions to the nation's fuel crisis of the last Christmas period were the issues dominating the investigative hearing convened by the Senate and House Committees on Petroleum Downstream. National Assembly correspondent Dennis Adegunloye reports that submissions were made by the Minister of State Petroleum Resources, Dr. Emmanuel Ibekachuku, Group Managing Director of NNPC, Maikanti Baru, and other key players in the oil sector.
The reasons of this fuel crisis, and we will remind you that we know the Federal Executive Council gave you orders to go out and stamp out this problem and leave it in the board. Traditionally, you will have both sides complementing each other, NNPC importing, players in industry importing. But once that happened about October, I think, or November, what you then found was that NNPC took on the burden of providing 100% supply to the market.
To some security matters now, troops of Operation Lafia Dole deployed in Polka are reported to have rescued one of the Chibok girls abducted by Boko Haram terrorists earlier in 2014. Deputy Director Public Relations Operation Lafia Dole Theatre Command Colonel Oyama Nwachuku, in a statement, said so far preliminary investigations reveal that the young girl, identified as Salome Pagu, is the same as the Chibok girl published on serial 86 of the online list of abducted Chibok girls. Currently, the girl who was intercepted in the company of another young girl, Jamila Adams, about 14 years old with a child are in the safe custody of troops and receiving medical attention. Minister of Interior Abdurrahman Dambazau is on a visit to Benue State on the directive of President Muhammadu Buhari over the attacks on some communities that led to the death of several people. The minister, who visited the Tortive Professor James Ayase, commiserates with the government and people of Benue State, promising that perpetrators will be brought to book.
It remains our land, and the prohibition of open grazing have come to stay.
The Agro Rangers project is on. We are finalizing the issue of training because they require specialized training. We have assembled them. They are coming out of the Civil Defense Corps.
And additional personnel are to be deployed to reinforce security in the areas affected by crisis in Benue State and to forestall breakdown of law and order resulting from the influx of people in border areas of Nasarawa State. Deputy Inspector General of Police Operations Habila Joshak said this in Lafia during an emergency meeting to review security strategies.
We want to look at what we call reconnaissance of the area and the needs for security, and the next action to be taken has been discussed. You will see a robust security all round to ensure that lives and properties are safe.
And finally, the former Director General of the Technical Aid Corps, Ambassador Maman Daura, he's dead. He died in Abuja after a protracted illness at the age of 71. Ambassador Maman Daura served as Nigeria's ambassador to Uganda for 11 years. He also at various times served North Korea, Belgium, Saudi Arabia and Cameroon. We inadvertently used a wrong picture in our earlier news bulletin. We apologize for that. And sincerely do apologize for my dodgy voice this morning. Thanks so much indeed for watching. I'm Joseph Johnson.
Unemployment, notably youth unemployment, features strongly in our party's manifesto. We intend to attack the problem promptly through revival of agriculture.
Is going a long way. Actually, I bought an acre of land for 60K like 2012, and presently I have a cassava farm and a yam farm.
Reorganized, trained, and fully equipped. We are the new improved Nigeria Police Force. We fight crime. We bust syndicates. Whatever the crime, wherever the hideout, the Nigeria Police Force will get you busted. Stop kidnapping, armed robbery, murder, pipeline vandalism and other criminal activities. Be productive. Be security conscious. Join the police force to secure your life and property. This message is from the Nigeria Police Force Public Relations Department.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the daring and invincible Louis the Mosquito. Responsible for 200 malaria cases all on its own. Is there anything that can kill Louis? Morphine! Presenting Mortise Power Guard. Its powerful formula kills malaria mosquitoes fast. So, get Mortise Power Guard.
Culture is beautiful and marriage is blissful. But nowadays, we are indeed raising an eyebrow and asking just how far should culture go in draining our pockets and turning the joy of getting married into a nightmare.
Everything is around 11,603,000 naira. 24 kobo.
What? Our daughters are not for sale.
How can custom demand endless payment?
Did our ancestors really put down these rules?
Yes.
Ponder this as you keep a rib-cracking date with Professor John Bull this week in the episode titled Not for Sale. Amechi Monago is at his best.
Money for opening the door, 500 naira.
Zebediah gives him a run for his money. Kanayo O Kanayo is on fire.
This is an opprobrium. Lackadaisical. Over and out.
Brought to you by Glow.
The largest data network, Glow Unlimited.
Kehinde suffers from indigestion. His twin Taiyi suffers from heartburn. Sometimes it's the other way around, or both. That's why
has a fever.
This is Nigerian. More details now.
Experts said show. Exited. Central Bank of Nigeria revealed that total deposits by the federal and state government, financial institutions and others increased by 4.7% to 20.6 trillion naira at the end of November 2017 from 19.67 trillion naira the previous month. The CBN, in its latest monthly statement of assets and liabilities, disclosed that deposits from federal and state government rose by 1.6%. Deposits by financial institutions dropped by nearly 2%, while other deposits in the month increased by 6.5%. In a related development, the Manufacturing Purchasing Managers Index (PMI) stood at 59.3 points in December 2017, indicating expansion in the manufacturing sector for the 9th consecutive month. According to the latest PMI report posted on the Central Bank of Nigeria website this week, 15 of the 16 subsectors reported growth in the review month in the following order: petroleum and coal products, textile, apparel, leather and footwear, cement, transportation equipment and paper products, among others. Equities market resumes uptrend as the Nigerian Stock Exchange All-Share Index inches up by 1.28% to close at 38,676.12 basis points, as against 0.20% depreciation recorded previously. Next is a graphic summary of latest closing figures on the floor of the exchange.
Up next for us on Good Morning Nigeria is a newspaper review. Let's welcome Bayo Atoyebi to the studio. Already here. Good morning to you, Bayo.
Morning, Blessing. Morning, Rhoda.
Good morning,
Good morning,
Nigeria. Good to see you.
Yes.
And we have about 6 papers with us this morning for review. But then I've got the Independent here, the Blueprint, and the Punch. But the story that's similar or across all the papers is that of the Senate hearing yesterday on the petroleum, the fuel scarcity. The petroleum industry was in focus just yesterday, and that's leading on most of the papers. Let's begin with the Independent. On the Independent, Nigerians may pay 185 naira per litre of petrol. Nigerians may pay 185 naira per litre of petrol with riders, their current price not sustainable, says Minister, NNPC GMD. Drama's 3 Ipman presidents surface at Senate sitting. That's a lead story for the Independent. On the Blueprint, federal government hints at fuel price hike again. Federal government hints at fuel price hike again. With rider says 145 naira per litre not sustainable. NNPC may incur about 85.5 billion naira loss on importation. Nigerians won't accept increase. Statement they're credited to the NLC. And it's the same story leading on the Punch. Federal government may allow marketers to sell petrol above 145 naira per litre. Government declares 18 months emergency period to address supply problems. Those are the stories leading on the papers that I have with me. All right, Blessing.
Okay, related development as for oil issues. Just below the nameplate for the leadership today, you have oil price rises above $68, highest since 2015. But more details on the inside page, that's page 7. But back to this day, or let's go to this day newspaper now. The lead story for it, oil hit $68, boost Nigeria's revenue, but petrol imports hurt finances. There are 2 riders to the story. Kachuku Presidential Committee will decide on retention of petrol at 145 naira per litre, and Senate backs down, keeps mum on subsidy issue. Bayo.
Well, all these are coming from the sitting of the Joint Committee of the National Assembly on petroleum downstream. Now, everybody gave their perspective as the result of the crisis. The GMD for NNPC said as many as 4,501 trucks disappeared completely. And he has attributed this to hoarding. And one of the excuses is that it's possible that because the least that petrol is sold beyond our border is 300 naira per litre. And so it has become a very, very taboo avenue for smuggling petrol across the border. However, he also concluded that since the landing cost of petrol is about 171, they're already proposing that there is a need to look again at the 145 naira per litre. However, the Minister for Petroleum Resources also was at the National Assembly, and from his own perspective, he provided 3 possible way out. He says, we allow oil marketers to import fuel and sell at their own price. Then NNPC, as mega stations, will continue to import and sell at 145. Those are the options. On the other hand, we can establish a special foreign exchange fund for oil marketers so that they can come down to the 145. Or, in the alternative, establish a special tax regime for petrol. However, a former Minister of Petroleum, Professor Tam David West, has said that to sell petrol and give crude to NNPC at the world market price is like asking a fisherman's wife to buy fish from the husband. And therefore, he has cited instances of other countries that have crude, they give crude to their own refineries at the local currency rate. Therefore, NNPC should be giving crude at the Naira rate so that they can afford to limit the margin that is coming from the cost of the increase. But all said, the Minister of State for Petroleum says the ultimate solution is to have our refineries working, and we will have a period of about 18 months for the private refineries to join to increase production. Until that is done, we must look back at the regime we have. Also, the Senate committee itself also was tasking the NNPC and marketers. They said from the statistics of the 37,000 metric tons of petrol they are supposed to have been given, the quantum of petrol they are supplying is in short supply. They are supposed to have an excess of about 14 days supply, which they have not delivered. So there are questions here and there. On the issue of subsidy, I think they defer that until another day.
All right, Bayo, another story that's also trending this morning, coincidentally, is something that we're also looking at on the program, and it's on the Punch, just above the nameplates. Benue killings, the wanton killings across the country, something we're discussing this morning. But then, Benue killings, police go after masterminds and dispatch DIG. Fleeing herdsmen allegedly kill scores of Nasarawa farmers. That's the story that's on page 7 and 15 of the Punch. And it's also on the Independent, and that's at the foot of the paper, just below the picture story. It says, herdsmen kill 8 in Nasarawa, 1 in Ondo. Benue killings, federal government will punish perpetrator, says Buhari. Arrest Mieti Allah, president. Subscribe, Orton insists. Dixon accuses federal government of shielding criminals. All right, Blessing, you have anything?
Oh, yes, there's a related story that's just above the nameplate for this day. Herdsmen continue rampage, kill 1 in Benue, and a woman in Ondo. Tension mounts in Nasarawa State as over migrating herders, and we must remain united against violence. It's coming from Bukola Saraki, that's Senate President. Okay, the story is not listed in front of the leadership, but I'm sure we'll find something. Okay, yes, it's the editorial. Actually, some of they're asking government now to actually look into this pastoral setting up for grazing and all the likes.
Well, let's look at the issue of security generally. It's very challenging for the security agencies, particularly for the police. Just within 2 weeks, the police have been able to arrest one Oro, who is notorious kidnapper, who is said to even drink blood. Across in Lagos, they have arrested the Badu cult leader. Yes. And in Delta State, they arrested one Dracula, who is said to be a kingpin for kidnapping in Ugeli, Sapele, and Wari area. He's reputed to be worse than Evans. And within that same fortnight, you now have this crisis that broke out in Rivers, in Benue, in Kaduna, and some part of Kwara too. Yes, now, the editorial that the Punch is talking about is highlighting the challenges about grazing. There is an agency that is calling itself Pastoral Reserve. They are proposing a 5 billion naira vote to help establish grazing reserve as a means of resettling herders. This is a permanent solution for farmers' herders crash. What we have in the Benue thing, even the law in Benue is saying anti-grazing law. It is supposed to solve a problem between farmers and herders. And apparently, it is approaching the problem as if it is targeting one aspect of the people. And the herders are now complaining that even in Kenya, where the Maasai cattle rearers were resettled into grazings, it took 5 years for them to be trained, for grazing reserve to be established. They say they, as herders here now, they don't know where to get their grass, they don't know how to grow this grass, and they don't know how to preserve this grass for their cattle. And all of a sudden, for instance, in the instance of Benue State, they have to move because they can't move. The law prohibits them from moving their cattle from moving on the street. So all of them, you have 10 million cattle moving from Benue State all of a sudden into Nasarawa. And Nasarawa is all of a sudden becoming an incubation for crisis between farmers and herders. So this is a positive way of looking at the problem in the long term, whereby you can now get to settle the pastoral herders who are now causing the problem.
All right, Bayo, another story that's also trending is the rescue of another Chibok girl. Yes. Some of the papers are reporting two. Some of the papers are saying it's just one. It's on the Independent. It says troops rescue another Chibok girl and 2,000 persons in Benue. That's on the Independent, and it's also another of the dailies. But this one is from the Punch. It's at the foot of the paper. It says troops rescue another Chibok schoolgirl in Benue. That's on page 11 of the Punch.
Yes, it's a troop of Operation Lafia Dole that rescued Salome Pago. She is identified as number 86 on the list of the 276 girls that were originally abducted. But she was found in the company of another girl who was carrying a baby. Okay. And that girl is not said to be among the Chibok girls. Now we have 113 to account for. With one out now, there's still 112 of the Chibok girls to come home.
Okay, so other stories I have on the front page of the Leadership. You've just talked about the Chibok girl, but there is still a story on Nigeria to begin to do mass evacuation of stranded citizens from Libya. That's just beside the photograph on the front page of the Leadership. Nigeria to begin mass evacuation of stranded citizens from Libya. Well, leading for the Leadership this morning, President Muhammadu Buhari wants customs orders against misuse of dry port facilities, because it's to recall that yesterday it was the activity in Kaduna, both for the dry ports inauguration or commissioning, as well as the coaches, that is for the train coaches now that we're taking delivery of. The three riders to that story on the front page says Ibadan, Aba, Kano, Jos, Funtua, and Maiduguri ports near completion, and restates commitment to linking major cities with rail and railway project to go up $40 billion. This comes from the minister.
Well, the dry port initiative is to ensure that to enhance business, commercial and industrial activities, so that you can import without necessarily going to the port. Yeah. And the Kaduna thing is just one. There are 6 others going to come from one for Ibadan, Aba, Kano, Jos, Maiduguri, and I think Funtua is the 6th one. But the other development was also the commissioning of 2 locomotives and 10 executive coaches. With effect from, I think, Friday, there will be 2 types of coach train services between Abuja and Kaduna. One is 4 coaches that are to run as 2 express. It will 2-hourly express between Abuja and Kaduna. It will stop only at Idu, Kubwa, and then Rigasa. So it is going to be very sweet and move very fast. The other one will comprise of 6 coaches that will stop at all the 9 stations along the route. However, the minister hinted that there's going to be an increase in the price. The fare for the economy is expected to go from about 900 that it was to about 1,200, while the business class, which used to be 1,005, is likely to go up to about 3,000.
All right, Bayo. The customs has generated 1.3 trillion naira revenue in 2017. It's on all the papers that I have with me, and that's over their expectations, which was about 770 billion naira.
When we take this alongside in terms of oversubscription for things, the DMO, that's Debt Management Office, now is saying federal government's 10.8 billion naira green bond oversubscribed.
Good. So those are positive development for the economy. With the customs, it's an increase in revenue. So if you generate more revenue, then it means there will be more money available for the budget, so that the essence of your budget going to deficit budgeting will be reduced with the quantum of revenue that is generated.
All right, Bayo, just yesterday, Mohamed Salah won the CAF Award for 2017, and that was just late last year. I think he won the BBC Player of the Year.
Well, Mohamed Salah is lucky, and he's been going on ascendancy. Unfortunately, none of our Nigerian players.
Yeah, I was surprised. Victor Moses,
yes.
And
but consequently, actually, it is the performance of the player and also the performance of his team within the continent and also in Europe that actually gets them to win. Aubameyang was also there, but he didn't go anywhere, and so was Kane who plays for Liverpool.
Yeah.
But Salah took the day.
All right, Bayatebi, thank you very much. We appreciate your time all through today and indeed the week. We hope to see you on Monday.
Thank you very much.
This is Good Morning Nigeria. A break beckons at this point. When we return, we'll take a look at the first part of our conversation, the wanton killings in the country, from one community to another. It's one killing getting too many.
Why don't you people sell imported materials here? As beautiful as the shop is.
Auntie, buying foreign goods does not help our economy. Neither does it boost local production. And the good thing is Nigerian-made products are high quality.
Really?
And to make Nigeria great again, that is why I only sell made in Nigeria products. Because change begins with me.
I'm convinced. Change begins with me too.
Change begins with me.
This message is brought to you by the National Orientation Agency in conjunction with the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
If you hear a bomb explosion or gunshots of an active shooter, that might be a terror attack. At such times, always remember 3 action words: run, hide, report. Don't try to run towards the terror scene to save the situation, because there might be a second bomb blast or another attack. Run far away and take cover. Make sure you are safe first. Yes, it is in our nature to sympathize over the hurt, but remember, only trained personnel can help in such situations. When in a secured environment, promptly call relevant authorities and help will come. For anonymous reporting, call 09630-3250-5 or 0813-2222-106. If you see something, say something. Nigeria unite against terrorism. This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
All right, you're welcome back. You're still watching Good Morning Nigeria on the NTA. Now, let's bring you our background report for our discussion this morning. First segment of our discussion, that's the wanton killings across the country. The Agbema community in Emehoa local government area of Rivers State has been thrown into mourning as masked gunmen attacked and killed undisclosed number of people. This incident came 3 days after the Omoko attack, which happened on New Year's Day. Let's join Oyeyemi Ajayi as he's put together this background report that will drive our discussion this morning.
The incessant killing in Nigeria has continued to be a recurring event, bringing concerns to the people in Nigeria. Just on New Year Day, 16 persons were reportedly killed by unknown gunmen in Omoku community in Owa, Egbema and Doni local government areas of River State while returning from crossover service. The gunmen at about 12:20 a.m. were said to have ambushed and sporadically shot at them. Apart from this incident, 6 communities in Guma and local government areas of Benue State also came under attack by suspected headsmen. Reports show that 50 persons were killed in the attacks, while several others sustained various degrees of injuries.
Going back on the law,
that we signed. By the grace of God, it will be implemented. And as farmers, we should have legitimate right to our farms and do our farm work.
Get the perpetrators of this discharge act. And that's why the government is placing a tag price of 200 million naira to make sure wherever they are, we must get them and they must face the wrath of the law.
Kaduna State is one state that has been battling with spate of killings over the years, especially in the southern part of the state. Just a few days ago, the Etum Numana in Sango local government area of the state, Gambo Makama, and his wife were murdered by some unknown assassins. Aside from these, the Bado cultists in Lagos State and other cult-related activities in various parts of the country have raised concerns over the safety of lives and property of citizens in the country. In a swift reaction over the incidents, President Muhammadu Buhari, who expressed shock over the killings, described them as reprehensible and unacceptable. He directed law enforcement agencies in both states to intensify the current efforts in order to speedily bring the perpetrators to face justice.
Thank you very much, Oyeyemi Ajayi. Now joining us to discuss this wanton killings across the nation, I'd like to introduce, despite time, here in Abuja studio, Assistant Inspector General of Police, Taiwo Lakano, is in charge of the operations at the Force Headquarters, Abuja. Welcome.
Good morning. Good morning, viewers.
And, okay, Rhoda.
Network Center, we're being joined by Dr. Ona Ekomo. He is the president of the Association of Industrial Security and Safety Operators of Nigeria. Good morning, and thank you for joining us on Good Morning Nigeria today. Good morning, Nigeria today.
Good morning. Thank you very much, and Happy New Year.
All right, gentlemen, let's begin this discussion. It's not, it's one that leaves a sour taste in our mouth. It's a sad one. It's not something that anyone is happy about. These are Nigerians, they are brothers, they are uncles, they are cousins. What is actually happening? Why are we having these killings at this time, especially just the beginning of a new year?
Once again, good morning. Well, it's actually a very sad development, and we are much more concerned because we are, of course, in charge of internal security. And of course, it's our basic duty to protect life and property. So I think we are more concerned than any other person, including the Inspector General of Police, is actually very, very worried because it's a taint on our records for last year and early this year. If you remember, this time last year, we started well, and for the Christmas period, Richard period, we prepared our operational order, and everything worked fine. In Lagos State, we succeeded in quelling the activities of the ritual killers called Badu. In Kaduna, within Kaduna and Abuja axis, the issue of kidnapping was actually reduced to nothing. And if you look at other areas too, with the exception of these few states, we've been doing extremely well. So it's a taint on us. We've been proactive, but this time around, we are being reactive because we've taken up the gauntlet and we're very serious about it. There's a DIG now who has led a team, a very strong team, to Benue to sort out the issues there, and we are very sure at the end of the day we will come out victorious because we're really determined to put everything in order.
Well, for most people, the worrying part for indigenes, whether in the rural or urban area, is the fact that security operatives or agencies are always a step behind when this issue happened. Why is it so, especially for rural communities when most of these attacks have taken place? If we look at it sincerely, when, of course, there are killings, people are, meant to complain. We actually do a lot within the rural communities. Probably it could have been worse than this. But what we do, especially what happened in Benue, the area is within the Nasarawa-Benue border, and it's, like you said, it's very rural. And some of these houses are just 4 or 5 huts. So we go on patrol there regularly. And at the same time, to also seek for the cooperation of members of the public, especially those within that area, if they can quickly get in touch for us to react. We actually go on patrol. We try to cover everywhere, and we've achieved considerable results. All right, so we'll come back. There are so many other areas that have been open. I mean, since this wanton killing, I've actually cut across from north through to south. Dr. Onaikon, thank you very much once again for joining us. We would like to seek your own perspective. Why do we have this rampage of killers on the loose, despite the security architecture that security agencies that have been put in place?
There are several factors that could be attributed to this problem that we're experiencing. I think you've mentioned the security architecture, and my friend the AIG has mentioned a rapid response and patrols to even rural communities. But apparently there's something that's missing in all of this because if what we are doing is not stemming the tide of killings, then perhaps we need to tweak it, such that it can address the problem. In other words, we're probably applying the wrong medicine to a certain ailment. Now, what do I mean by that? We have a situation where we have isolated killings in different communities. Umoku in Rivers State, Emelha in Rivers State, Goma in Benue State, Logo in Benue State, and so on, Numan. I mean, that's a carnage going on there. So what that means is we have a situation of generalized violence. And my fear is that this might, more meanings could be read into it, perhaps even more than the body count, the number of people that are actually dying. So that's a problem. But let's leave that aside. Let's go back to why this is happening. So I think this generalized violence is occurring because the security architecture, I think one of your, the other lady with you in the studio asked the question that why is it that we tend to come only after the killings have occurred? So that means reactive call for service. Well, call for service is what we need, actually, CFS, because we need to have a way in which citizens can call for service when they are under attack. Since we don't obviously have a good enough intelligence architecture to predict or to even know before the fact that these people are going to attack. So you need to perhaps improve the rapid response by getting a call for service. Because if those people are being murdered in Numan, in Logo, or in Guma, if they were able to call out to the police agency for service that they were under attack, then perhaps they might have gotten help. Because what's happening, take the case of Guma and Logo local governments, they killed the farmers, they torched their homes and destroyed the farms. It takes a lot of time to do that. It doesn't take just 2 minutes to kill 50, 60 people, destroy all their homes, torch the homes, and then also destroy their farms. So if you have an architecture which includes deliberately call for service, CFS, that's what it's called, you can now have a better response. You can make the police smarter and more effective by being able to get in and help people when they are being attacked. Because at the end of the day, it's not how many bodies we can carry, it's how many attacks we can prevent or, in fact, interrupt even while it's ongoing. Because, of course, certainly the police cannot interrupt every attack. Now, let me quickly say something. I don't want to sound as if I'm saying the whole problem rests with the police agency, even though AIG Lakano is trying to say that the police is doing everything. We have so many agencies in this country, and many of them are charged. There are agencies that are charged with intercepting these weapons that are being used, because if you don't have an AK-47, if you don't have the dangerous weapons that these killers are using, you can't kill that many people. You can imagine trying to kill so many people with bow and arrow or with dagger. Look at the ISIS attacks in the UK. The people use daggers to slash people because they don't have access to guns. Now, we have agencies that are supposed to intercept this proliferation and piling of arms in this country. They are sleeping. We have agencies that are supposed to find out, that is, ferret out information about the plots and plans by whether they are headsmen or whether they are kidnappers or whether they are cultists to kill people. They are not. Now, everything is being heaped on the police agency and on the military. And I begin to worry that we have too much call out of the military, because if you call out the military too much, after a while you, what is it called, you violate posse comitatus rules, because you cannot use the military in policing of a civil populace. That's the problem we have here, Madam Blessing.
I was wondering, you know, could inadequate punitive measures in the past also be responsible for what we're seeing now?
Yes, you are taking me back to Beccarian sociology, severity, celerity, and what is it called, of justice. Because you have to have swift justice, you have to have severe justice, and you have to have certain justice. There must be certainty to it that if a guy perpetrates, he will be caught, or he might be caught. There's a probability not all perpetrators are caught. He might be caught. And if he is caught, he will be prosecuted, certainly. Not that some big man will call from Abuja and say, oh, let that man go, and he's let go. And then also he will be punished severely. Now, this is what is underlying this generalized violence you're seeing in Nigeria. Many perpetrators truly believe that if they commit crimes, they can get away with it. And that's unfortunate. I know the Inspector General and his men, like AIG Lakano with you there, they are working very hard to nip these things in the bud. But if the general perception is that you can in fact commit and get away with it, then that will spur more people into acts of violence. Because, and we don't want that. So this goes back to the polity, the political class. What are they doing? How are they defining issues of crime and criminality? And what is the resourcing that the security agencies are getting? And what kind of missions are they giving to these security agencies to execute such that this country could be kept safe? Because look, this goes beyond the police agency. And in fact, it goes beyond the military. At the end of the day, it is the polity that is being seen or being looked at as failing. It's not necessarily the police. The police can do all they want 24 hours a day. In fact, they can add a 25th hour in the day if they like. But, you know, if the polity is seen as failing, then investors will go next door. Nigerians, now let me give you a story. Nigerians, I was in Dallas and in many cities in the U.S. Late last year, and I was trying to get our people to come back home and invest. And they are telling me that there's too much kidnapping and there's too much generalized violence. Even our own people, we cannot convince to come back home. That's a shame.
Thank you very much, Dr. Onayekom. And let's get back to G. Lakano. There's one underlying factor in almost everything we've talked about. Culture of impunity. And it's as if it's getting on by the day, simply because once there's an attack here, we'll look into it. Okay, police will investigate this, or the security agencies will look into this, definitely. But do you see a decline on the people's acceptance or the people's trust to actually trust in what the security agents are able to do for them, so that they now decide to take up arms by themselves to defend? Well, because it's either way. It's either maybe farmers attacking the herdsmen, as the case may be, or herdsmen attacking farmers. But generally, there's this culture of impunity. How are we addressing that?
Well, I would not totally agree with you, because when you look at impunity, if you commit an offense, we effect arrest, we prosecute you. We have been doing that, but
well, have we failed to address this one?
We do address. That is why, like what is happening in Benue now, immediately it occurred. The Commissioner of Police was directed to take immediate action, which he did. There was a full patrol. There was we also had you know, joint action with the military, and of course some arrests were made. Like what happened in Benue, we've arrested 8 of them. Is it
this recent one, sir?
Yes, we've arrested 8. And
but if you recall, this is not the first time Benue has been attacked. But not even the same way neighboring Nasarawa.
We cannot prevent attacks. Definitely. But we can be proactive about it to prevent it from happening, or we can also react. We can be reactive. When we are reactive, we effect arrest, we interrogate, we investigate, and we charge to court. We cannot stop impunity, but at least by effecting arrest, it's still part of trying to solve impunity. That is what we try to do. We have limitations, But what we do is to make sure that once there is crime, we effect arrest, we prosecute. Like what is happening in Benue now. We are attacking it in totality. In totality.
How are you doing that?
Okay. Apart from the Commissioner of Police, who, like I said, has taken certain steps, you know, having high visibility patrol, having joint patrol with the military, the Inspector General of Police on his own, what he did was to send the special forces there. When we talk of special forces, we talk of mobile men. Each unit consists of 63 men. We talk of anti-terrorism unit. These are well-trained men.
All these men are in Benue?
We have men who use, sorry?
All these men that you're mentioning, they're in Benue?
They are in Benue now. Benue is...
Rural community?
Yes. In fact,
the
there's calm. We have restored normalcy. Okay. It's just for the people to start coming back. We have restored normalcy. The team was led by a Deputy Inspector General of Police on the instruction of the Inspector General of Police. We have men, we call them TIU, that is Technical Intelligence Unit, and these are our intelligence assets. We also have various assets. We have helicopters there now, you know, looking around for all these men. We have they are encircled, and we are picking them. We've arrested 8, like I said, and the 8 they've opened up. We will definitely get to the end of this. Because,
you know, most times when, you know, there's this issue of when issues like this happen, you hear that, okay, all security agencies are on ground.
Yes.
And most times it's probably a lockdown situation.
Yes.
Where, you know, the movements are restricted.
Yes.
So as it is right now, how are you interfacing with the community where this thing has happened in such a way that you are able to get the information that you need?
Okay, let me explain this to you quickly. You see, we have contiguous states.
Okay.
All these states, the commissioners of police have been, you know, warned seriously that these issues, all these things happening should not spread to their states. Not only that, we also have men from all these states assembled in Benue now. Then, apart from that, we've taken some steps. You know, there are some covert actions we usually take that I cannot, you know, open up right now. Then when you talk of, then we also liaise with the community. Just to answer your question, we have community members who are, you know, who can easily liaise with police, those who give us information. And we also have, we also work hand in hand with government. We also have, what is it called? Robust relationship with other agencies. It's not only Nigerian police, like Mr. Ekom has pointed out. We have robust relationship with other agencies. And we're all working in tandem, harmoniously. And that is why, if you go to Benue now, it's calm. The DIG is there, is the apex, is the one leading the team there. Everywhere is calm for now. All
right, so let's bring in Dr. Ona Ekomu. Dr. Ekomu, you are actually advocating for a redesign of the architecture of rural policing. And when you begin to advocate for that, what comes to mind is, what is wrong with the present architecture?
Thank you, madam. Well, apparently, it's not working as effectively as we would like for it to be. There are things, we'll have what we call cost effectiveness analysis. When you have a, a security program in place, you have to look at the losses, you have to look at the recoveries, and divide that by the cost of the security program. That's an ROI formula. Now, but what it is if you have a situation which is being breached continually, you now say, okay, listen, perhaps we need to re-architecture it. That's all I'm saying here, because it shows that the cost effectiveness is not as great as you want for it to be. Now, AIG has said very beautiful things there, and I want just to key into what he has said. For example, the real problem, first you have to diagnose a problem properly before you can solve it. The real problem, and I have said for several years, is the issue of ungoverned spaces in this country. Now, if you have, you see that a lot of those attacks occur in rural areas. Lagos attack, we're talking about Badu, they occur in Ikorodu, which is kind of a rural area within Lagos SMSA, Standard Metropolitan Statistical Area. Now, the Omoku attacks were nighttime attacks, ambushes. Anybody can be ambushed. I was ambushed by kidnappers back in 2013. So nobody has immunity to ambush. Now, the Guma and Logo attacks, AIG has briefed us. These are very rural communities in the Nasarawa border areas. Now, of course, we know exactly what happened there because the people who were displaced from this open grazing, by the open grazing statute in Benue State, who have moved across the border, got angry and came back. But my concern is that persons from those communities complained that they had informed security agencies over and over that they suspected or they got information that they were going to be attacked, and they were still attacked successfully. So, but let's leave that. Let me go to the solution. I'm just giving you that as something that should be thought about and something that security agencies should key into. Perhaps somebody should ask who got that report, why didn't they respond, and that person should be punished, even if it's within the security agencies, because that's how you get people to do their jobs better, by showing that those who didn't do their jobs well pay the price for it. Now, having said that, let's go back to the architecture I'm talking about. You see, on governed spaces, how do you solve that? You have to use the people that are on ground already. And then you have to use a methodology. For example, we now have apps. We have apps that can report crime to the police agency automatically. You see crime, we say famously what Janet Napolitano said in the US, see something, say something. You see crime, you record it, and you send it off to the police agency. Now, the same way, you can just report a crime proactively to the police agency. So GSM has empowered every Nigerian. In fact, even in irresponsible ways, Nigerians can now say all kinds of nonsense because they have GSM and they can get on the internet. So why don't we use the power of the GSM to strengthen our security? Because really, AIG Lakano and his men, they have good, strong response capabilities. They have patrols. They have assets, like he just told us. They have joint assets with the military and other agencies. So they can do rapid response. They have helicopters. But if they don't know that your community is under attack, how we don't know how to protect you or how to come to your aid? That is the question here. It's not about reaction, because reactive security is usually about carrying dead bodies and then investigating who done it, who killed these people. And that's why we have to be very careful, such that, because if we don't get the reports at the end of the day, who killed the people, if the matters are not resolved, very soon citizens will lose faith. They'll say, you know what, these people, they always cover up crime anyway. And we never really want to get to that, because we know that's not true. We know the police is really trying its level best, but the perception, in fact, sometimes we say is greater than reality.
Thank you very much, Dr. Anaikum. Now back to AIG. I'm sure you want to respond to some of the things they raised.
Comparatively, when you look at a cosmopolitan area where technology can be used and rural areas, you will see there's a lot of difference. Like Lagos, the Badu group, you will agree with me that we are doing a yeoman's job in Lagos. It's called Badu. We don't call them Badu. We call them ritual killers. What they do is to storm houses, break skulls of their victims, swipe handkerchiefs on their heads, and go away with the blood. But because of technology, people can easily call. They can give us information, and it's been working. That is why that they are totally annihilated now. We have so many of them in courts. We have some other investigation, and the CP there is doing a human's job. But in rural areas, sometimes we have to be honest with ourselves. We have our issues. Those who could have access, those who have access to police, will react. What's our job? Is it not to solve crime? So you cannot, I do not really believe that. Okay,
if you got calls, now the governor of Benue State said to have accused the police for not responding promptly to the recent attacks. I think there were calls, or there was an intelligence report that similar attack were going to come on. And Dr. Naikome also confirmed that just
now. Well, I wouldn't join issues with the governor on that. I'm not sure. I'm hearing that. I don't think. We have the governor, the commissioner of police, that is extremely effective, and is somebody that is very passionate about his job. I don't think he will resist an information of that will attract national interest and keep quiet.
But what do you consider the greatest challenge for the police in Benue that these attacks seem to be coming and spreading?
The greatest challenge actually is the distance, because all these things happen within rural areas. But now we have infused a lot of men there. Like I said, it's like a battleground now. And we have covered up the whole area. People have started moving back, and we are restoring normalcy.
How are you dealing with the issue of cultism? Because cultism seems to be spreading, and that's a very, very serious issue, especially now that this is an electioneering year. How are you dealing with that?
I appreciate that. I would say it's confined, sincerely, it's confined to Rivers State. Other areas, we are on top of the situation. But, you know, Rivers, for a long time now, we've had issues of cultism for so many years back. We know the groups. They have Bedwell, they have the BAM, they have the Well, the Islanders, Greenlanders. We've arrested several of them. We've recovered arms, like what is presently going on there. You know, it's been narrowed down to a particular ex-militant, and is in our radar. Like I say, we have displayed we have our intelligence assets, we have our area assets. Any moment from now, I'm quite sure he will be picked. You know, there was a time he was granted amnesty by the late president, and he got a lot of money, he got some jobs. But later, he went back into the creeks and started his problems. And when the governor Wike came in, that one too offered him some jobs. He got jobs with Ajib. And later, he went back and started rampaging all over again. But we are going to pick him now. He's within our radar. You know, covertly, I have to keep some things to myself. But I'm very sure that any minute from now, will be picked. So
let's take a look at the cooperation and information between the police, of course, or security agents generally, and the community, because let's not push it aside. There are complex situations to this aspect of violence.
Good.
Underlying grievances here and there.
Good.
What kind of cooperation is being fostered amongst communities as this situation is on?
You see, we have so many programs. You are aware of Police Public Relations Committee is working, because everybody wants to be a member, and of course, it's been extremely useful because they pass on information to us. We also have some we have an eminent group, those people too, they pass information to us. We work in tandem with members. We cannot succeed without having the cooperation of members of the public. I was Commissioner of Police in Imo. I succeeded because I had you know, very harmonious relationship with members of the public. We do have harmonious relationship, and we always encourage this. Concerning other agencies, we also have synergy with them. We can't do it all alone. We can't do it, and we combine to do so many things. Even in what's it called, in this Boko Haram enclave, Northeast, we have policemen working hand in hand with the military. They are there. It's going to a situation where an agency cannot do something in isolation. You have to work with other agencies. So we have synergy, we have a harmonious situation. We meet regularly. We have a fusion center where we meet, we discuss issues, and we provide solutions. So
what are you taking a look at? How are you looking at the issue of technology now? You just raised the issue of, okay, if there are cities or at least urban areas, your greatest challenge is technology in rural areas. What are you doing about that?
With the recent happenings, it's an eye-opener. We know we have to penetrate the rural areas now. And I know that some governments are very much willing to assist, state governments. And we actually have to confess, we need to penetrate. What we use mostly, we use a vehicular patrol, but you know, we still need to, because if you look at cultural areas, we do a lot of tracking. I mentioned two very important assets that we have that we can boast of: the technical intelligence unit and the intelligence component too. The two components, they work extremely well. We can easily track and pick robbers. We can easily track and solve problems. So, but like you rightly say, we need to extend all this to the rural areas.
All right, thank you very much, AIG Lakanu. Let's quickly get to Dr. Ona Ekomo. Doctor, you were actually speaking about the security architecture that is in place right now and why you think it's inefficient. I'd like you to speak to us about the kind of security architecture that you are actually advocating for. I want you to speak more to it, and also the place of intelligence gathering for the police in all of this.
Thank you very much, ma. I appreciate. You see, when you have generalized violence like we have now, you have to sharpen the focus such that you can gain results and you can even measure your results. Because if you don't measure it, you don't know how well you're doing. You don't really know how well you're doing. Now, first of all, let us look at the overall picture. We have a large country, 200 million and counting, and we are under-policed. We already know that, 370,000 or less. Now, the JTFs are running operation in 34 states of the country, which is not good. We really want a situation where the JTFs will go back. That is, they'll be disbanded and the military will go back to their barracks. But right now, the existential reality on ground is that we must have them out there on the streets because they bring the heavy firepower to confront the real bad guys that we have out there. Now, having said that, we want to now come back. And first of all, again, I want to quickly underscore the fact that this polycentric security, internal security that we are talking about, it's a fallacy. Because, yes, the police, in fact, is the only agency, aside from the military, that is named in the Constitution. And the police, yes, does have the full authority for internal security control. But now what has happened over the years since independence is that we have kind of farmed out a lot of the work of the police to lesser agencies, EFCC, immigration, fire service, ICPC, the people that are supposed to be interdicting arms, and so on. So we have a lot of mushroom, NDLEA, NAPTIP. We have a lot of mushroom agencies out there. And now, okay, fine, it's okay. I mean, these are creations of law. In fact, the police itself is also a creation of law. So we recognize them, we say they are there. But then everybody now has to get on the same page such that we can all work for the good of Nigerians. Now, a situation where the police agency and state security, for example, state security was a rib in the police side, and it was brought out from there and created. State security was a E-branch. Now state security says that it wants to rival police. That's not possible. You don't have enough manpower. You don't have enough spread. Yes, you are in all 774 local governments, but police is much more than that. So what I'm trying to say is let everyone know their duty, first in terms of the agencies, and let everyone concentrate on their duty and show results for the money that government is putting in them. For example, if you are an intelligence agency, it appears to me that you should be providing intelligence for the police to capitalize on, rather than providing intelligence and trying to conduct response on your own. It doesn't work like that. So there must be interagency cooperation and collaboration. Now, I think AIG has spoken to that. He says that we have some of that. But I think we really ought to understand that at times, yes, maybe at the top, the big guys like himself, the generals, they agree to cooperate. But the boys down at the street level, what are they doing? Are they really working together? So we need to tweak that a little bit. Now, let me go to a concept which I want to call community security defense shield. Now, we need to look at how we can defend our communities, because every Nigerian is guaranteed life by the Constitution, Section 2. Now, so why is it that some lives, because they are in rural areas, are they lesser than urban lives? No, they are not. Even urban lives are not that secure anyhow. So what that means is we need to perhaps look at how we can ensure that that promise by the Constitution, because the Constitution gives us a promise. It says that if we obey the laws of the land, then it will take care of our welfare. It's a social contract. So let the government keep its part of the contract or compact by safeguarding Nigerian lives. So how do we do this? We go back to what we call a community security defense shield. Let us look at every community. Okay, for example, we talked about Benue, Nasarawa, perhaps all those contiguous states, Plateau, and so on. They have similar problems. Why can't we put them into some kind of a regional security grouping regional, because they have similar problems. And now, why don't we also have the traditional rulers, community leaders in those states, contiguous states, or even in those communities, talking to each other and then talking with the police agency, such that we can now set up this kind of a scalar security infrastructure, whereby when something is happening, it's quickly escalated, you know, up some kind of a security matrix to the operations. Who sits there in
all right, Dr. Ona.
And he can now.
All right, thank you very much, Dr. Ona Ekomo. We would actually pause you there for now. We would actually want to bring in the Commissioner of Police, Rivers State, where one of these incidents has actually happened. He is Commissioner CP Zaki Ahmed. He is the Commissioner of Police, Rivers State, and he's joined us live from our Port Harcourt Network Center. CP Zaki Ahmed, you're welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
Would you update us on the situation right now in the communities where this incident has happened, especially the one of just yesterday? What is happening there, and why are we having this incident reoccurring, especially in Rivers State?
It's unfortunate it has happened. The problem we have here, that is the major challenge we have in terms of security, is cultism, then followed by armed robbery and kidnapping. We have realized that over the certain period of time, most of the people arrested for cultism, for armed robbery or kidnapping, are cultists. So cultism has eaten deep in the roots of our youth, and we are making serious efforts with the local authorities to ensure that we sensitize the youth, we create awareness in them that this cultism breeds violence, destroys communities, and it blows an ill wind that is not good for anybody. And this is what we are doing with the local authorities. We have a lot of collaboration in terms of that. We have been having seminars and we also speak in every forum that they should desist from this cultism. We also found that because they belong to different cult groups, so once there is any rift, this cult group will attack one another. And we are doing very much to ensure that this is discouraged, and people have now repented, have abandoned this dreaded group and become meaningful citizens that will contribute their own quota towards the development and progress of their community.
Arrests being made. As I was asking you, CP, has any arrest been made so far?
Well, in terms of the killings of 1st January 2018, we have made adequate deployment. Our tactical teams are working with our intelligence unit. The IG has also sent intelligence response unit and technical intelligence unit with the monitoring team to assist us in fishing out the culprits. We are working hand in hand, and I can assure you within no time we are going to get them arrested, and we'll pass the good news to you.
You know, that I know that you have said that cultism, you know, is a major issue that you're dealing with. But the question on the minds of a lot of people is, why is there so much violence in Rivers State? Is this something that is peculiar? And is it that the police cannot contain it? Are you overwhelmed by the situation?
No. We are not overwhelmed. We are increasing our efforts. we are redoubling our efforts to fight this crime and criminality and all its ramifications. The truth is, you know, we're in the post-era of militancy. Most of these cultists were ex-militants. An amnesty was given to many of them, but the truth is, few of them surrendered their arms. There are so many arms, illegal arms, in the hands of these youth, these so-called ex-militants, and they have been factionalized even in the cult group they belong. Before you know it, once there is anything, there will be violence. They will bring out these arms and start attacking themselves, especially the rival cult group. We are doing everything possible to ensure that we have mopped up arms and we have taken custody of these illegal arms so that they cannot use it to fight themselves and inflict injuries to the society generally.
Ahmed, you said you've not made any arrests so far. Between January 1st and yesterday, several attacks had come on, and the Omoku killings actually took place in the night, and it was as if they had a long time unleashing terror on the people that were attacked, and your response is as if it took forever to come on. Why is it so? If you have such capacity, like you said, you're not overwhelmed, and you have such capacity, why did it take you such a long time to actually step into such communities to help the people?
Well, I can tell you the truth is these people came from the creek, from the river. They used speedboat to come to Aligu. That is the town of this dreaded, notorious cultist who has been on our wanted list. They came and attacked the house of one of them who has repented and is now helping the local vigilante, working hand in hand with the police and other security agencies to fight them. They attacked his house and started shooting sporadically. Before you know it, they jumped back into their boat and speed off. They came from somewhere. They were not living in Aligu. They came probably from the neighboring state and unleashed this terror on that community. So we responded positively, and I can assure you that these people will be arrested within no time.
AIG operations here. If you talk already, you had indicated that the cult activities are what is prevalent in Rivers State, and I'm sure over time you've seen the helplessness of your command there and what you need to do to step up. Because if people actually came from the creeks and wherever, I'm sure there are naval police or some other security agencies you're working hand in hand with who patrol these waters. How come that we still have such killings on a large scale, just 2, 3, 4 days into the new year?
Actually, what I was trying to tell you, the incident that happened recently, we've not made any arrests, but we've been effecting arrests. We have been storming using our marine patrol. We have gunboats. We have been storming the, what's it called, the creeks. We've been working in tandem with the Navy, and we've been making arrests. We have been doing that, but for the present one, you know, crime is not something you solve within a day.
So why is it difficult, this present one?
No, it just happened. We're on it. Like I said, there are some covert actions we will take that I can't come up on here and start narrating. And I told you that they're within our radar. And I know that one, it means a lot of things. You know, very soon, within the shortest possible time, we'll pick them. We have an idea of where they are. We have tracked them. They have been geo-located within the security space of that place. We have mapped the whole area, and we know what to do, and we are doing it.
All right, thank you.
The IG is very responsive. My inspector of police is very, very responsive to issues of kidnapping, and so he goes out by himself. We were in Kaduna yesterday on the road to check. If you look at that road, Kaduna Abuja road, it's been peaceful. Look at Adamawa. We had an incident there. It's extremely calm now. Most of with the exception of these pockets of resistance, we had a wonderful Christmas. I think we deserve
some places.
Beyond the Christmas, for how many from Christmas perhaps it was peaceful, but it wasn't the same situation in the New Year.
We'll catch up. We are usually, most of the time we are proactive, but sometimes we tend to be reactive.
Let's get the...
was on Kaduna Road.
Perhaps that's exactly. Usually when you have this volume of high-profile VIPs,
no. We have about close to 200 vehicles there within the axis. Okay. And I do visit the place.
Okay, Ajila Kanu, let's get a quick response, a closing thought from Dr. Ona Ekomo. Now, briefly, sir, there are underlying grievances and no doubt. The government, federal, state, local government, there are policies, there are views. How has this been able to actually be subsumed in what is being done to actually protect lives and properties, security situation generally?
Yes, thank you, Madam Blessing. I think this is where the rubber meets the road, because the government has the ultimate responsibility. The agencies, you are talking to two agency chiefs there, you're talking to AIG and CP. The agencies, they are operators. They operate the security system. But the policies, the direction, the resourcing, the will, what you call, famously called political will, come from the government. So it depends on what the government feels is important. And that is why my comments this morning are more addressed to the government than to the police agency or to the military, because these guys can only work with what they are given. If they are not charged to do a very rigorous job, they may not. When I say charge now, first the mission, then the resourcing. You know, that is important, because if you don't resource them adequately, then they cannot get this job done. So I think the security problems of this country lie squarely on the shoulders of the government of the day. And I think they ought to take it seriously, not just mere words. Let us see performance. Let us see a police agency that is well-resourced. We've been talking about recruiting these 10,000 policemen. I hope some of them are beginning to get into the force. And then we need more, because the police agency shrunk from 420,000, which it was many, many years ago, over 20, 25 years ago, to about 350,000. And we need to build that number back up. Yet we are struggling with recruiting 10,000. And because of interests, because so many top government officials are interested in getting their brothers and sisters in there, you know, is becoming a cog in the wheel of recruiting personnel into the police agency. We need to do that. We need to fund the police seriously. Recently, there was this police fund bill in the Senate. That bill needs to come out, and it needs to get, implemented. The police needs serious funding to do its work. And then the security architecture, the security apparatus, that is the sole agency that has franchise for security in this country, which is the state security, should be tasked to do what they really need to do. They must understand that every time those cultists come out from the creeks and kill people in rivers, it's a failing of intelligence. It's not a failing of the police agency. It's rapid response.
All right, we're very...
reported to them. It's a failing of the intelligence.
All right, thank you very much. That's the much we can take from you, Dr. Ona Ekomo. We thank you so much for joining us on Good Morning Nigeria today. Dr. Ona Ekomo is the president of the Association of Industrial Security and Safety Operators of Nigeria. We thank you for your thoughts and time on Good Morning Nigeria. And very quickly, would like to get back to our Port Harcourt Center, where we have the Commissioner of Police, Rivers State, CP Zaki Ahmed. CP Zaki Ahmed, you've just told us a whole lot that is happening in Rivers State. And to us, it's very, very, very challenging. But then how challenging is it for you, especially policing a state like Rivers State?
Like I said earlier, these challenges of cultism in one angle, then kidnapping and armed robbery. Seriously, there are major challenges we have to contend with. But we are doing our best. We are taking the fight to their hideout. We are not resting. And Rivers is not a safe haven for criminals. So we are doing everything possible within our reach. We are using the whole of our strength to fight them. And we have a serious reduction in crime. Just recently, the upsurge came up. But I'd like to assure you that we will not rest, and we will chase them and get them arrested and prosecuted.
Much, CP Zaki Ahmed, the Commissioner of Police, Rivers State. We thank you so much for your thoughts and time on Good Morning Nigeria today. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
All right. We want to sincerely apologize for the poor audio we had there from our Port Harcourt network center. We seem to be having some challenges there, but we'll fix it. And it's on that note, also want to say a very big thank you to AIG Taiwo Lakanu. He's the AIG Department of Operations Force Headquarters, Abuja. Thank you for joining us on this discussion.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
All right, we'll take a short break now, and when we return, the second leg of our discussion, and that's the Multinational Joint Task Force. We'll be joined by the leadership of that task force. We'll be back in just a moment.
Cold and flu can spread through the contact of hands. And in such situations, I can't risk falling ill. So I recommend Dettol, as it protects from up to 100 illness-causing germs. That's why I want to be Dettol sure. Dettol, be 100%.
It's that time of the year when we appreciate all those that mean so much to us. Our sponsors, our clients, government at all levels, corporate bodies, advertisers, religious bodies, civil society groups, political parties, businesses, and above all, you, our esteemed viewers. Together, we made 2017 great. Together, we shall make 2018 even greater. That's why we say thank you. Merry Christmas and a prosperous New Year.
Hate speech is not a joke. It incites genocide and crimes against humanity. Most of Africa's civil wars are caused by hate speech from one tribe against another. We don't want it here. The Nigerian government stands firm against hate speech.
I was distressed to notice that some of the comments, especially in the social media, have crossed our national red lines by daring to question our collective existence as a nation. This is a step too far.
One nation bound in freedom, peace and unity.
Nigeria, one nation, one people.
This is a public service announcement brought to you by NTA.
Dettol team is visiting schools to teach children how to protect themselves from diseases. Do you know how we get illnesses like diarrhea, cough, and cold? No! They are spread through germs, which are everywhere. You collect germs that cause diseases. You pick up germs from any surface, like when you don't wash your hands after going to the toilet, while playing. And then you can get sick because of germs. That's why you need to fight germs to stay healthy by washing your hands and taking your bath with Dettol soap to protect from up to 100 illness-causing germs.
Wash, wash, wash your hands. What you have to do is bath, bath, bath yourself. Dettol soap every day. Wash, wash, wash your hands.
The Federal Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment, in collaboration with the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture, the Made in Nigeria campaign. In the midst of unprecedented multiple challenges, our great country Nigeria, as Africa's largest economy, is surely marching on to a new era of all-round prosperity, especially through re-engineered and diversified economy, powerfully driven by the change agenda of President Muhammadu Buhari, GCFR.
We will patronize local entrepreneurs. We will promote the manufacturing powerhouses. Our objective is to make Nigeria a new manufacturing hub.
It is not time to complain. It is time to join the campaign. It is time for economic recovery, growth and diversification of our economy. Buy Made in Nigeria.
The time has come for Nigeria to take her rightful place in world sports with the first national grassroots sports festival to discover and prepare sport talents and develop future world champions for Nigeria. The festival date is 3rd to 10th March 2018. Venue is the National Stadium, Abuja, packages A and B. This is the opportunity for you to promote your brand through the festival. For broadcast sponsorship, which include live broadcasts, highlight shows, and TV fans show, contact the Chairman, Chief Coordinator, Angelo Peter I. Elosia, or Nick Onyishi. Organizers, Grassroots International Sports Academy and LOP Worldwide Television. Endorsed by the Federal Ministry of Youth and Sports Development. Broadcast partner, NTA.
You're welcome back. If you just joined us, the program is Good Morning Nigeria, and you're watching us live on the network service of the NTA. Yes, well, the first part of our conversation we'll look into internal security there and there across the country. Now we're taking it higher because in tackling security, definitely it's our government's business to protect us. This time around, we're looking at the war on insurgency. Now, the Multinational Joint Task Force was established to, among other objectives, bring an end to Boko Haram insurgency in the sub-region. Now, the first, this particular National Joint Task Force has 8,700 personnel from the 5 nations that made up the task force. And now we're taking a look at that in our second part of discussion. Rhoda?
And we're now being joined in the studio to discuss the role of the Multinational Joint Task Force in combating insurgency in the command. He is the Force Commander, Major General Lucky Irabo. General Lucky Irabo took over the mantle of leadership of the force in May 2017. General Irabo, thank you for joining us on Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you very much, Rhoda. It's my pleasure.
All right, let's begin by looking at the mandate of the Multinational Joint Task Force. Looking at the mandate that you were giving so far, have you been able to fulfill that mandate, and how far have you gone?
Thank you very much. Perhaps before I go directly to your question, perhaps let me make a few clarifications. The Multinational Joint Task Force current force level stands at 10,500. Right. Of course, the troop contributing countries come from Nigeria, Chad, Cameroon, Niger, and the Benue Republic. Benue Republic, of course, you know, is not part and parcel of the Lake Chad Basin Commission countries. That's called because you know that security issues do not respect boundaries. And so the leadership of Benue Republic at the time felt that they needed to give some form of support to the sisters, talking about the leaders of the Lake Chad Basin Commission countries. Now, having said that, the mandate of the Multinational Joint Task Force is threefold. First, to conduct military operations that will create the conditions for the restoration of normalcy, talking about civil authority, giving due regard, of course, to the protection of civilians, and addressing all issues that have to do with gender-based violence. And then, of course, secondly, is to ensure that adequate support is given to the humanitarian agencies for them to be able to give due support to all those who are affected by the insurgency and terrorism within the Lake Chad Basin Commission countries. And of course, thirdly, is to create conditions for the stabilization of the Lake Chad Basin Commission, implying that issues that existed, the governance-related issues and development, pre-Boko Haram insurgency, the kind of activities that ought to be taking place is what we should create the conditions to enable those structures to be in place. And as to how far we've gone, I would like to indicate here that we've quite gone very far. Of course, you know that currently, you know, within the Lake Chad Basin Commission countries, there is relative stability. Peace, of course, is returning. Just only, you know, 2 months ago, talking about November 2017, we organized a stabilization conference. Of course, a conference that involved, you know, several stakeholders to be able to craft a strategy which will lead to the stabilization of the LCBC. And of course, this conference couldn't have taken place if we have not achieved significantly the mandate of the Multinational Joint Task Force. Of course, we are looking ahead, believing that, of course, when what we're doing currently, we're able to, of course, in partnership with the national operations of the various countries, Lafia Delhi of Nigeria being a part, it's a complementary operations that we conduct. So when all that we're doing currently achieves the desired objectives, of course, we will be looking ahead to ensuring that issues that have to do with stabilization of the LCBC is activated.
Okay, let's look at your trying to draw assets, kind of asset you have, and forces. How strong is this for member nations? Is Nigeria the only one doing more of the funding, as well as some other areas? How do we assess what you have, or how do we?
No, well, you know, in arrangement of this nature that involves various countries, you must have a lead nation, no doubt about it, and that's where, of course, Nigeria stands out. But I would like to say that other countries, of course, make contributions. The Memorandum of Understanding relative to the operations demands that all the countries of the LCBC provide logistics for the various troops that they have. The first level, of course, the strength which I've just indicated to you, cut across all the countries. Of course, Nigeria had the highest number of troops, followed by Chad. You probably have Cameroon, and then, of course, Niger. In that order. So the resourcing of these various troops come from the various countries. So talking about the equipment and other logistics come from the various countries. And what I do as a force commander is to coordinate these assets that have been placed under the you know, the command of the Multinational Joint Task Force, and ensure that those assets are used judiciously to achieve the mandate of the Multinational Joint Task Force. So for me, of course, yes, there are resource challenges, no doubt about it, but of course, some significant progress is being made in terms of meeting up what those requirements are.
What more would you need? Or how are you going about what you need? And since you said that you are challenged in some area to actually check more infiltration that you're getting of late.
Yes, of course. I mean, you see, what I need to indicate here is issues of terrorism and insurgency do not respect borders. And of course, in a violence ecosystem, just like we have in the Lake Chad Basin area, there are a lot of stakeholders. There are issues that even go beyond governance. There are issues that go beyond even criminality. But of course, you also have those who you may think that they are part and parcel of your support group, who, of course, try to take advantage of the setting for their own personal objectives. So, to that extent, our job is to ensure that there's proper interaction amongst these variegated groups, getting to understand what their motives are, and then, of course, also, you know, synthesizing the data that we get from them, and then knowing also how to relate with them and ensure that they don't go, you know, against the objective and, of course, the purposes of the Multinational Joint Task Force. There's also an avenue through which the various chiefs of defense staff of the Lake Chad Basin Commission countries, as well as the ministers of defense, are briefed on some of these issues for them to also take back home and then integrate that into national activities that will enable them to you know, to move forward and ensure that the overall interest of the Lake Chad Basin Commission countries are achieved. We equally have an interaction with others that are outside of the Lake Chad Basin Commission countries. Some time ago, I had to travel to Mali to share thoughts with my counterpart there, who of course is the commander of the G5 Sahel. And of course, there are other occasions where one had to travel to Addis Ababa to also interact with those who have been of help. There are other stakeholders who we call partners in this case, because of the kind of interactions that we have with them and the input they have been making, ensuring that our objectives are achieved.
Okay. All right, I was going to ask you, the last time you were here, you actually said that we have won the war, but there is a need to win the peace. Right. And looking at the pockets of, suicide bombing that we're having, I call them pockets of suicide bombing in some parts of the Northeast. What do you think should be our response to this character so that we can actually, win the peace?
Thank you. You're very right. I made that statement, and I still stand by that statement, which is true. Issues of terrorism is not something that will easily go off. The insurgency component of the problem has been largely taken care of. That's the reason why all the areas that were once haven for Boko Haram terrorists have now been liberated. And to that extent, of course, you now know that Boko Haram do not have the strength and character that they used to exhibit in terms of the boldness, the rascality that they displayed by sacking communities, by going to even rout military forces. That no longer exists. But then the infusion that the stage of infusing with the local populace, wherein they carry out some of these, ignoble, activities, is where we are now, which of course brings to the need for a more intelligence-driven perspective to approaching the problem. We have been receiving a lot of support from the locals, but I can only ask that setting be escalated. I can only ask that other interest groups, come to join to support the security agencies to be able to continue on the path that they are going. By the way, just only yesterday, and I also saw on the news, my colleagues in the operation level had really, got across to say that, look, one of the Chibok girls, amongst, several hundreds of those that were rescued, that one of them was a Chibok girl, which of course is now in the public domain. That of course tells you that this is the kind of thing that we need to escalate. But again, the larger society must give greater support and have some form of understanding with the security forces. Sometimes when you listen to some of the comments and the castigation that you find on, in the media space, sometimes it could be a bit demoralizing. For me, I think that when some people are given a particular task, it behoves on all of us to give greater trust to those who have been saddled with those responsibilities. That does not, of course, mean that you shouldn't criticize, but there should be constructive criticisms, which, of course, should be objective-driven, which should be to aid, moving forward the process of bringing peace. So, winning the peace is everybody's responsibility.
I was going to ask you, is the multinational joint task force also trying to look for the girls, the Chibok girls that are in other countries?
Yes, of course. I mean, the operations are more or less interwoven. The operations of the multinational joint task force and the activities of the various national operations forces are interwoven. We share intelligence, the various countries, as well as our strategic partners, looking at issues, and each time we conduct operations, sometimes across border, take for example, the My Forces of Sector 1 in Cameroon, conduct operations with troops of Operation Lafia Dole along the common border outside of the area of responsibility of the Multinational Joint Task Force. So, so all these activities are geared towards not just searching for the Chibok girls, but of course all those who have been held behind the lines of the Boko Haram terrorists. In fact, the rescues and that of both the civilians and of course even Boko Haram terrorists that we capture is all from the activities that we conduct either singly or jointly.
All right, at the 738th meeting of the Peace and Security Committee of Africa Union, December last year, there is a renewed mandate that, okay, from the 31st of this month,
correct,
we are going to be pushing more for you. Now, what kind of effective control is the Multinational Joint Task Force going to be having to oversee their mandate area in this new space?
Well, actually, that mandate was as a result of the briefing that I gave at Addis. The Peace and Security Council requested that that should come to give an update as to what our activities are, with the hope of renewing or otherwise the mandate of the Multinational Joint Task Force. You know that the Multinational Joint Task Force came into existence, especially since 2015, the reoperationalization, because of the support which the Peace and Security Council of the African Union, as well as the UN Security Council also gave. So that, of course, means that we have the instrument, the legal instruments to actually carry out the kind of activities we're carrying. Now, in ensuring that the mandate is extended, we gave reasons as to what has been our achievement in the past, what we've done, the areas we've liberated, the recoveries of both arms and ammunition that we've done, the rescue of civilians, the protection that we have accorded them, as well as even taking the Boko Haram terrorists themselves into custody. And of course, what is left. And of course, I indicated that a good number of the islands still remains to be policed. And so from that setting, that mandate was approved. Currently, what we're doing is to finalize plans for a very comprehensive operation. And I think that this might not be the forum for me to give us such details, but I believe that as we get it activated, the details and the results of that engagement will be known to the public.
What further collaboration, sorry, Rede, what further collaboration between the other military, Navy, Air Force, within the multinational, how strong is this for? What kind of are we getting?
Of course, I mean, that's the reason why it's a joint, multinational joint task force. Meaning that all the forces of the military, land, air, and of course maritime, are brought into it. We have a naval outpost. When I say we, I'm talking about Nigeria for now. And then we equally have, for the Cameroonians, there's also an amphibious unit. And then, of course, the Chadians as well as the Nigerians are also developing the amphibious operations capabilities. And so what we have at our disposal will be put into, is being put into the operations. And of course, we're also escalating the capacity of these forces, especially on the maritime sector, wherein the waters of the Lake Chad must be policed, and we're working on it. And of course, we have had a lot of interactions. And of course, air is a factor. Air is a constant. And of course, for the land, of course, it's also a constant, being that whatever happens, everything ends up right
strong
on the surface.
representation and
yes, of course, we do have
collaboration.
Yes,
well, all the while, you've been telling us about the plans that you have, but the truth is, a lot of times we don't get to hear about the operations of the Multinational Joint Task Force. It's kind of, quiet. I know it's that you have some ways of keeping it quiet, though. But then, how significant, how substantial is your contribution in the fight against insurgency?
Very significant, I would say. that I talked about plans does not mean that we've not actually carried out operations. No, we have, especially since I took over. Before my taking over, you recall that my predecessor was also part and parcel of those of us that were in Operation Lafayette Adole. So we have, then when I was in Operation Lafayette Adole, I was traveling to Niger, around N'Djamena to interact with them a couple of times. Little did I know that I was going to assume this position. So currently, we have the Operation Lafayette Adole, both command and staff that also come to us to interact, and we also go to them. Ditto those of other countries. So we conduct operations almost on a daily basis. And then, of course, like I mentioned, there is a current operation that is ongoing, both between the Multinational Joint Task Force and Operation Lafayette Adole along the border between Nigeria and Cameroon. We equally have those along the borders with Nigeria and Niger. So it's an ongoing thing. And then maybe because N'Djamena is a little bit far remote from Nigeria, and because you have the media not possibly focusing on it. But of course, when you come to Chad, the activities of Multinational Joint Task Force is well.
We need to take a look at some of those operations, because when we say, okay, you keep policing the borders and some, which are border countries to some of the people present in the Multinational Joint Task Force. Is the war on insurgents taking a different character? And how do you want to respond to that as the Joint Task Force?
And of course, we're looking at free movement between, the borders, different countries along the border. Correct. And you're saying now that you have your men on ground in those areas. So correct. Why are we still having challenges?
Well, you see, it's sometimes difficult to bring to the understanding of the general public what the actual situation is. The commerce is actually flowing. Okay. I tell you that there are movements. Of course, it might not be in very large numbers. Movement from Maiduguri to Damasak through Duchi into Difa and Niger Republic. We equally have, of course, movement from Dikwa, Gamborongala into Fotokol in Cameroon, and then, of course, to N'Djamena. You have movements from Bagasola in Chad, across Ngugima, and then, of course, into Niger. So these are things that are ongoing. The kind of commands that you find, and I'm hopeful that one of these days, perhaps your team may possibly come around, and then we'll take you to see for yourself the setting. Let me also quickly add that for us, we believe that the voice of peace is louder than the voice of violence, and that's the reason why we have also partnered with Radio Dandakura, which of course is a medium, that the local languages are spoken to let the entire world, especially those within the Lake Chad Basin Commission country areas, for them to know what our activities are.
All right, thank you very much. And of course, we'll look forward to actually coming around to see the great work that you're doing at the Multinational Joint Task Force. Thank you very, very much. A very big thank you to the Force Commander, Major General Lucky Irabo of the Multinational Joint Task Force. Thank you for coming on Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you, Rhoda. It's my pleasure.
All right, a very quick look at the weather prospect just before we go.
Thank you for staying tuned to the weather forecast. I am Paul Ogba. Conditions in the atmosphere as at Thursday afternoon shows that a fresh dust plume has just been formed over the source region, with strong winds that are expected to transport the dust into the country. And by Friday, we expect the extreme northern parts of the country from Maiduguri down to areas around Katsina to be in dust haze condition, with visibility in the range of 1 to 3 kilometers, but locally in 1 or 2 places, we expect to see visibilities less or equal to 1,000 meters. As we move down towards the central parts of the country, we expect dust haze conditions to prevail as well, but visibility is expected to be better in the range of 2 to 5 kilometers. Over the southern parts of the country and the coast, we expect visibility in the range of 1 to 3 kilometers, still in dust haze. Please stand by now for our maximum temperature forecast.
I'm Rhoda Anonam. Thank you for watching. We'll be back at 7 Monday morning.
My name is Blessing Abu. Thank you for watching. We wish you a very fruitful weekend.